Sure.
Welcome back to the Y.E.S Fitness Longevity Podcast, where we give you insight on how to get fit, feel younger, and live better. Today we have a special guest, Dave Donnelly. He is a very well-known and respected physical therapist in the area. He's got 6 facilities.
Yep.
6 facilities. Dave's been a physical therapist for 18, 19 years now. So he knows his stuff, and I thought I'd bring him on board today to give us a little bit of insight on some of the things that people deal with, when to go to the physical therapist, when to go to the doctor, maybe when to exercise, when not to exercise, some of the habits that we are doing in life now that are causing these types of problems, the backs, the shoulders, and things like that. So before we get started, Dave, first tell me where all your locations are, because I might get it wrong.
Sure, yeah. So we're right next door to you guys here, obviously. You know that one here in Burlington. Our first location was in Wolcott. We opened there in 2005. Came second out here to Burlington, also to Prospect, Farmington, Terryville, and we're opening next week in Torrington.
Nice. Nice. We're okay?
Are you going?
Yeah. All right. We've had some technical issues, so we just wanted to check with the people outside to make sure it's all coming together correctly today.
All right. Perfect.
So 6 locations. So you can be reached by just about anyone in the area that's going to be probably watching this podcast.
Sure.
I know that we send all of our clients that have a problem with physical therapy down to you guys. You've done an awesome job for us over the years now. How long has it been now in town?
Just about 8 years, I think.
8
8 years in town,
8
yeah.
years. Time flies.
Yeah.
I know they've helped a lot of people for us with all kinds of stuff, bad backs, bad shoulders, and things like that. So give us a little bit idea who Dave Donnelly is. How, what's your why? How did you become involved in physical therapy and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so, I mean, I got into physical therapy right out of high school and knew I wanted to do it right away. So went to Northeastern University in Boston and studied physical therapy there. Really had a passion for the outpatient orthopedic and kind of sports medicine environment. So went that route. And, my roommate and I in college used to sit up late at night thinking about business plans and how to do this different. And we kind of, see the writing on the wall with, with how other places operated and some gaps in customer care and customer service that were out there, and used to just think for hours about how to do this stuff better. So coming out of school when I graduated in 2000, I kind of set that path toward ultimately opening up a business and worked with some of the other kind of more reputable places in the area, and then finally just kind of branched off on my own, because I kind of went off on the idea that there's a gap in what people were doing, from a care standpoint and the customer service that was being delivered. And I knew that I had a product that could kind of, meet that need and kind of set us apart from some of the competitors. And, we started opening up in some of these smaller towns that really had a need for physical therapy close to home, because, as anybody who's got some kind of pain, if you have back pain and you're driving 30 minutes to go to physical therapy, it just doesn't make any sense, because your back hurts. Even if your back feels better after going through your physical therapy, chances are it hurts again by the time you get home. So was it worthwhile? So in our business, we like to, kind of target some of these smaller communities that may not have access to great care, and kind of bring some of our team into that area. So.
Certainly, I know in the gym business, location is one of the most important things. I mean, people want to go to a gym that's close to them because you're going to go back and forth 2, 3, 4 times a day, a week.
Sure.
Physical therapy, you see people a few times a week. One of the most annoying things can be if they have to get in their car, bad weather, storm, rain, whatever it is, travel a half an hour, see somebody and have to travel back. Not only is a time aspect of it, but like you said, they come back and they may not feel as good as they did when they left the physical therapy. So having all these locations, 6 locations, very centrally located in these towns, I'm sure is working out well for you.
Sure. Yeah, it's been great. It's been great. And like our business, I mean, our people don't come 3 to 4 times a day like your workout nuts do, but we're usually 2 to 3 times a week is the ideal physical therapy kind of program. And really, you don't want to, that's something where you don't want to be driving a half hour 3 times a week. It really just ties up your day. Sure.
Especially if you, had knee replacement and you have somebody driving you.
Sure.
I mean, you have transportation back and forth where you're not even the one that's doing all the driving. Got to be a real pain in the butt for the client.
Sure. There's been studies done, and it's, I mean, really what they say is that people are willing to drive up to a 5-mile radius,
Oh, yeah.
you know, for physical therapy. And I even think it might be even a little tighter than that. But the majority of people, we figure, are about a 5-mile radius is where they're open to driving, what makes sense for them. So.
Well, not so much in Burlington, but I know in some of the other towns, there's a lot of other physical therapy places you can go to.
Sure.
So what are some of those things that you saw in college that were different, that you thought that was missing in the industry, that's setting you apart from the other types of facilities?
Oh boy, there's a lot to be said on that topic.
Well, we got time.
Yeah, I mean, boy, physical therapy, boy, that's a hot button right now. Everybody's opening physical therapy. Hartford Hospital is, and if anybody is watching from Hartford Hospital, wonderful. But I mean, you hear them advertising all the time their state-of-the-art physical therapy, and it's great. I mean, that the profession is getting this kind of exposure. But what we find is that in a lot of these business models, there's a disconnect between the people that are actually going to physical therapy and, you know, kind of the leadership in the office. And you know, the people kind of treating the patients in each office, you know, are going in, they're getting the job done, they're punching the clock, and they're getting out of there. And that's great. And there's a lot of jobs that people go and they do a job. That's not what we hire, and that's not what we want. And what we do is, our whole business model is to hire people that are passionate about helping people feel better in this orthopedic physical therapy environment. And we're not just looking for time punchers, you know. So that was number one. Number two, customer service. You know, how often do people go into a doctor's office or something and they feel like they're answering, you know, real regimented questions, and the doctor's putting it into their computer base, or the physical therapist says, okay, if A, then I will do B. And that's also not what we want. We want somebody who's going to sit down and talk through things with their patient. And that's big. So one of the things that we did to accomplish that goal is we spend 1 full hour one-on-one with the patient the first time they come in.
Wow.
So the therapist sits down with the patient for 1 full hour, and really it's a let's get to know each other time. Let's really understand where each other are coming from and figure out a plan to help you as a person. You know, secondly, we have a customer service training program that all of our new employees, not only just the therapists, but new employees go through, because it is important. And there's different, you know, kind of points throughout the interaction with the patient that we need to make sure we're there to serve the customer and to do what they're looking for. So if somebody's here for their back pain, we need to figure out, you know, what it is, how that back pain affects them throughout the day, and really work on that. I mean, if you get really scientific about it, we know that exercise is a great solution to help people ultimately in the long run feel better from back pain. But we also know that sometimes exercise doesn't give you that immediate relief. So if there's something we could do with our hands to help kind of get that immediate relief, that's a customer service thing that we got to make sure we do to kind of help you feel better and get you what you came in for.
Well, I'm not saying this just because you're my neighbor and, you know, I've known you now 8 years and you've done great things for my clients, but I honestly have never had any of my clients come back to me and say, you know, where else can I go, Chris? They don't connect with me. There's no care there. They're just making me another number. They're taking care of 5 other people at the same time, and they don't really watch me and know what I'm doing. I have never had one of my clients come back to me and say that. Yeah. And I know personally, I have used your services as well. My son has used your services as well. I know if I had some kind of issue or need, I definitely would head down to one of your places. Great. You must have figured something out, because you're up to 6 places now. And that doesn't just happen by accident. Right? That happens because you have some systems in place, and it's not just the fact that you guys have your education and you have, you know, great training and you know what you're doing, how to help the person, but it's that extra little bit, that extra care that you're giving someone that obviously is working.
Sure.
It's obviously working.
Yeah. We like to think so. So
there's not a business out there that doesn't have competition.
Yeah.
And to last as long as you have, or to last as long as I have, 20 years now, You must be doing something right.
Yeah.
You must be doing something right.
Well, you know too. I mean, you guys see it in your business, I'm sure. You know, with the bigger box gyms and the difference in service. And it's a real similar situation that we deal with too. Where it's just different. I mean, if that's what you're going for, then wonderful. But I don't know. I feel like more people want that individualized kind of care. The funny other thing that we see too is like these hospital things. So now in today's day and age with insurance, we always get criticized, or not criticized, but people are a little more reserved sometimes because they have a higher copay or a higher deductible, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes we choose those. We know we kind of choose those in what plan we sign up for. But for those with plans that have high deductibles or high co-insurances, when you go to a hospital-based physical therapy practice, the reimbursement rates are actually sometimes 4 times as high as they are for us.
Wow.
So in these facilities, they're getting paid a whole lot more from the insurance companies. And that's great. How does that affect the consumer? Well, how it affects the consumer is that if you had a 20% coinsurance at an outpatient private practice, you may owe $15 for a coinsurance. If you had it at a hospital-based facility that bills insurances differently, it's going to be a lot higher. It's likely going to be a lot higher if it's a coinsurance. Wow. So it's a real easy way to cut your cost on your copays, coinsurances anyway. And a lot of times you're going to find that you have a more engaged, more involved crew at a private practice because they're more invested and more, kind of ready to push to help that practice do better.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. I mean, that's some great information for people to think about when they start to choose facilities. Choose some facilities. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things in the body.
Yep.
How can someone determine when it's time to go to the orthopedic, when it's time to just see the physical therapist, and when it's time to say, you know what, let's just continue to exercise through that pain?
Sure. Yeah, that's always going to be a judgment call, I think. I mean, we know our kind of catastrophic things. You always see the YouTube videos that make the highlights. When something just doesn't look quite right from a bone standpoint, it's time to go to the orthopedic surgeon. There's things like ACL tears, meniscal tears, things like that. That are really going probably directly to the orthopedic surgeon. But it's a fine line. I mean, the surgeon is out there, the orthopedic surgeon is out there, and their job is to operate, to fix things. That's their role.
Right.
Our role is to fix things non-operatively.
Right.
So where you choose for your starting point is really a matter of personal preference. Physical therapists now are doctors of physical therapy. We have direct access in the state of Connecticut, which is a nice way of just saying you could come right to us if your insurance company allows it. And most do. So, we'll see people, and we always provide a free consultation for those cases that we're not sure. Is it on that line where maybe you need to just go see the surgeon? Maybe your back is that bad, and I see something in your back that I say, yeah, you better just start with the surgeon. Or if you need to order an MRI. But if you look at it from the other angle too, a lot of these same things, if people are having surgery for back pain or surgery for even a lot of knee conditions that may be considered to be meniscal involvement, a lot of times these people are the orthopedic surgeon will refer them to physical therapy first and see how they do for, 2 to 4 weeks of physical therapy, just to kind of try the more conservative option here before getting in there with surgery. So where do you start? I don't know, personal preference. If it really seems to be a medical emergency, that's an emergency room kind of thing. Again, we think there's a fracture, a break, we're going to get you right to the orthopedic surgeon. But you really can't go wrong either way, because if you come into us, we're going to be able to screen for that. And if there's something that kind of stands out as requiring an X-ray or an MRI, we'll send you over to the orthopedic surgeon. And a lot of times we could get you in, within 24 hours to someone that's, a surgeon that specializes in that particular type of injury.
I don't think some things that people don't realize now is that you guys are doctors, you are PhDs, so that insurance allows you to come to a physical therapist to get kind of that eval that you're talking about,
Yeah.
a free eval to see, you know what, I do need to go to the doctor, or maybe I don't need to go to the doctor. And we've sent clients to you many times, and sometimes you recommend going to the doctor and sometimes you don't. So it's not like you're going to just say, okay, you know what, you don't need to go to the doctor, come to us for a bunch of visits.
Sure.
That free session, people don't realize that they can do that keeps them from trying to guess and think about, should I do this, should I not do this? Go see the professional. Let them say, okay, let's, you know what, you do need to go see the physician, or no, maybe I don't need to go to the physician. Maybe you just need to do a physical therapy. So that's a great tool for people to use. People may not realize that now, that insurance allows that to have happen. So that's some great advice for people.
Yeah. So it's the doctor of physical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just to clarify, it isn't a PhD, but doctor of physical therapy.
Doctor of physical therapy. Thank you.
You know, similar to like a PharmD or a pharmacist doctor. But
Still know a lot of shit.
Yeah. You gotta know quite a bit of things, but so yeah, and the free consults. I mean, we're always open to offering those, because at the end of the day, what we're looking to do is we really want to be the physical therapist of our people in our community. You know, similar to how dentists kind of evolved. You know, is how the profession of physical therapy is evolving now, and we want to be there for our people in our community. And even if we offer free consults, that's fine. We're not looking to draw everybody in and sell everybody a slew of physical therapy visits. But, you know, our feeling is we just want to develop a relationship with people. And then when you need us for your back pain, or if you know somebody that needs us, that now we're, you know, top of mind, or somebody that you know you can trust. So
let me get to a couple of questions that I always get from clients that maybe you can help us with, maybe you can't.
Sure.
Oftentimes, especially the generation that we deal with, 40 plus in my facility, the knees are cracking. They're making a lot of noise. They don't hurt. They can go up and down stairs. Okay, they can sit. The knees don't hurt, but they're making a lot of noise. And I always tell them, if it doesn't hurt, we're probably not doing any damage. So what are some of the things that could be going on in the knee that could be causing that, and when maybe they should go see someone, or maybe they shouldn't?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, there's a lot of young kids even whose knees crack all the time, and that's, you know, again, it's a case by case basis. But what's probably happening is, as you know, I mean, the kneecap, the patella, rides in a track, and when you bend and straighten your knee, that kneecap has to glide up and down in a track, and sometimes it rides up on the track a little funny and then rides back down a little funny, and you could hear it kind of, you know, maybe some of the tissues snapping as it goes back and forth there. You know, there's a variety of things that can snap and crack and make those kind of noises. But a rule of thumb is, if it's not hurting, you know, note it and you kind of, you know, keep an eye on it. But we can, if there's ever a question, I mean, we can take a look at you and tell you what it is that's cracking by just kind of evaluating your leg and kind of figure it out. And sometimes it's the angle of the shin too that's kind of creating this. So if you had, my water down for a second here, but if you had, you know, if you had your lower leg and kind of the upper leg, and as your foot hit the ground, the lower leg collapsed. So we all know of a foot that pronates or collapses. So as that foot pronates or collapses, if it collapses too much, the shin bone then rotates. What that does is this track that the kneecap rides in, it starts to roll off the track, or kind of ride up on the ridge of the track. So a real simple fix in a lot of cases are looking at footwear. And is there a way that we can make that knee not crack through just altering the footwear to get something more supportive or you know, more accommodating to the particular foot that we're looking at? So
okay, good advice. Good advice.
Hey, thanks.
Bad backs, we see them all the time. What are some of the things that people are doing out there now that it may be causing bad backs, and some things that maybe they can do to prevent that? So
great timing on this. I was just having a conversation with some of our people in our prospect office yesterday, and what we see is you know, one of the things that these guys coming out of school are really in tune with is that we know that a lot of times one of the causes of back pain, a major cause that we could affect a change in, is core weakness, or weakness throughout the trunk, right? And I know you guys do a lot of core training here in your programs, but I'm sure you see it the same way we do, is you see these big, strong.
Excuse me, define the core for people, how you guys see it.
Sure. Yeah. So the core we look at, and I don't know, it depends on how far out you want to extend it, if you want to get into the hips and whatnot, but I usually look at the stabilizing muscles of the spine as my go-to. Okay. So you've got some little muscles along the, from each individual segment. They're kind of, not even the width of your pinky, that connect from one segment to the next throughout the spine. I always refer to the spine as a slinky. And that slinky needs to have some kind of stability or control from these muscles that control one segment to the next. So that's core. Other core muscles are the abdominal muscles, but really think of it in terms of the abdominal muscles that wrap around your belly rather than go straight up and down. So the transversus abdominis, we refer to the obliques. And I don't know, do you guys talk about the hips as being
We
more
talk about
core
the hips
too?
core now as well.
Sure.
With the glutes and all that just being involved.
Yeah.
That it's not just the rectus abdominis.
Yeah.
And we use a slinky again also as an example of when the slinky starts to turn over, you don't have that same stability anymore. It'd be nice and rigid. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So in terms of the thing that we see, I guess we were talking about in terms of back pain.
Right.
I was having this conversation and all the time you see people that come in and say, well, what do you mean my back's weak? Big strong guy or girl comes in and says, I'm lifting a ton of weight. I'm a construction worker. I'm working on cutting trees down all day. I'm a big, strong person, what do you mean my back's weak? That doesn't make any sense. Look how strong I am. And true, that's very true. But it's really a case of patterning. The patterns that you use with your body when you do things. For example, these big, strong people, and I'm sure you guys see this too, when they go to do an exercise, they're using their big, strong muscles to do it. And that's great. But we've used our big power muscles to pull on that slinky. And a lot of times what that does is give extra compression force. But we didn't really tap into these muscles that stabilize one segment to the next. And that's more of the concern. So we want to make sure these small core stabilization muscles are strong enough and their muscle or their contraction timing is down right. So that when you go to lift something, the stability muscles contract just before the power muscles do, to stabilize each segment so that there's less risk of compression and injury at that particular area. It's a hard thing to teach, but we see it all the time, and you get these same people that now you get in and you start getting into some exercise after we do our manual therapy with them. And we have them do an exercise and you see them moving in a way and you're like, holy, what are you doing? No, that's the wrong way to do that exercise. And so now we're reteaching the exercise. So some of these people who just try to exercise through the back pain, chances are you're probably doing something wrong and don't even realize it with your exercise. And you just need to have somebody pick up on that and kind of, adjust that for you.
One thing that we have found is people like you're talking about come in, they think they're big and strong and they go to lift a lot of weight, but they don't know how to engage the core. They don't know how to engage those small muscles. They don't know how to pattern. So we do a lot of funky stuff with the sandbags, DBRT, where we pull apart, we twist to engage the whole posterior chain so it all is engaged before they start to lift, or what they do with their feet on the ground, gripping the ground. We'll do an exercise lying on our back and we'll tell them to put their hands down and grip the ground. Why do we do that? Why? I'm lifting my legs because that turns the whole body on. So it teaches the body to turn the body on without even telling the person, okay, now you need to tighten your core. We make them do activities that forces them to do what we want them to do without teaching them. And that teaches the patterning.
Yeah.
That teaches the patterning. They don't even realize it because often we'll have guys come in that do construction. A lot of times we'll have women join and then their husbands will come on board and be like, oh, I can do all that stuff. And they come in, they go through a workout and they're exhausted. And not just because they lifted a lot of weight, but just because we had them turn on the whole body before they went and did the exercise.
Sure.
So it's super important patterning to be able to lift correctly and avoid injury.
Yeah. And think about the amount of strength training that big guy that does heavy work for a living has to do. It's not just, they actually have a lot more strength training because now they've got to catch those spinal stabilization muscles up to the big power muscles, which which isn't going to happen overnight. And that's, I'm sure that kind of training isn't really going on at some of the bigger, the bigger gyms either, right? When you hop on the leg press, I don't think you're doing that.
No, you're not doing that when you hop on the leg press, not at all, or knee extension or any of that stuff. So, but the coach or the trainer, whoever it is, have to know what they're doing. They really have to be knowledgeable of what's going on, and that all comes with continuing education and things like that. So that's another topic for another day for sure. So what about the back for that person that is sitting in a chair all day? I know they say, well, I go to the gym for an hour and then I go to work, so I got my exercises. But truly, when they go sit in that chair for 8 hours and they drive to work for an hour and they drive home for an hour, so that's 10 hours, and they go home and they sit on the couch, they've really undid everything they did while they did that exercise. So what are some of the things that maybe they can think about, those people that have to sit all day long?
Get up. Yeah.
It's that simple, really.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people with back pain when they're coming in for therapy that really what they should do is, if you've got one of those, if you're in that age range of 35 to 55, give or take 5 or 10, there's a chance that you've got some funky kind of disc stuff going on.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean people use slip disc, bulge disc, I don't know, whatever kind of slang term you want to use. But if there's some kind of disc stuff going on, and we know that forward bending or forward slouching is aggravating your condition, then you're right. You're absolutely undoing that. So what I tell people is get up every 20 minutes, set an alarm. So if you're at work, get up every 20 minutes, stand up, walk around. I have people stand up and just put their hands on their hips and just kind of even arch back. But get up. There's plenty of exercise, and we'll give you an exercise kind of program to do during that time too. Just some things to keep in mind throughout the day. But yeah, get up is the biggest thing. So
got to move. You got to move a little bit. Sitting is the next smoking.
Yeah. If what you're doing is causing pain, doing it more is not going to take the pain away. So.
Right. So the other area that we get a lot of problems with, and we've dealt with knees and ankles and hip replacements and all that kind of stuff, is the shoulder region.
Yeah.
Shoulders are, as far as I understand it, is if you have that shoulder socket and you put that humerus in there, that arm in there, that space is about the thickness of a piece of paper.
Sure.
So there are things that we're doing as society that are causing these shoulder problems. So can you talk to us a little bit about that and what we can do to stop some of that?
Sure. I'm doing one right now. If you see me from the side here, I'm kind of sitting rounded forward. Yeah. And what that does, it takes the shoulder blade down and actually, lessens the amount of room there. So, posture is another a big thing here and getting upright. But yeah, the shoulder injuries, rotator cuff injuries, rotary cuff, people call it, whatever. It's the rotator cuff, but everybody's got a different word for that too. But the rotator cuff is a series of muscles, and like you said, sometimes they're going to get jammed or pinched or worn. And it's no different than, I always use the analogy of a rope swing. Kind of swinging on a tree branch, and it's not. It may not be the first time you use it or the 100th time you use it that rope starts to fray, but after years of using it, it starts to fray. And in the human body, when we have these postural things, we're kind of sitting forward or moving wrong. We're going to get some wear and tear in that rotator cuff, and that's something that we are always looking at, and we can kind of figure out everybody's kind of, I don't know, I guess causes that they have or things that predispose them on an individual basis when they come in.
Well, I'm sure you guys in the interviews, that session, I'm not quite sure what you said it before, that first consultation.
Sure.
When you sit down and talk to somebody, you're investigating that. You're finding out, hey, do you sit down all day at work? Are you sitting on a computer all day? Are you driving in your car all day? Or maybe are you outdoors doing a lot of construction, and what's going on with the lifestyle that you're leading? You're going to treat them, but I imagine you're also going to tell them what they need to change in the lifestyle so that this doesn't happen again.
Yeah. I mean, unless you want more business, in the near term, but yeah, that's what you're going to kind of do. That's our goal is to not only, we've got, phase 1 is to take away the pain. Right. Phase 2 is to get you stronger. Phase 3 is to make sure it doesn't come back.
Right.
And that's all part of that. Yeah, kind of getting into that, and that's a tough, like the sitting stuff and getting up, tough habits to break. I mean, it's really sometimes it comes down to setting those alarms in your watch, and but yeah, we'll certainly kind of look at things and kind of evaluate mechanics. Somebody who's an athlete, we may watch them run to see if there's something going on, if they're running funny to cause a problem, or somebody who gets pain every time they vacuum the house. We're going to watch them do that and see if they're doing that in a way that compromises a shoulder or their back or whatever their issue may be.
Right. There's so many little things that go on in the daily life that affect the body that people don't think about. How they open the door, how they get out of the car, how they push their vacuum, the way they stand when they're washing dishes, for those people who still wash dishes. I mean, all that little stuff all adds up, and over time.
Well, case in point with what you do every day, back to that back analogy, or the back talk there. I mean, I was saying to somebody yesterday, what's the first muscle that contracts when you go to lift a gallon of milk out of the refrigerator? And it's really your core, your group of muscles, your core. You're activating that first. And the person that truly does it right activates the core first. The person that has back pain from lifting something out of the refrigerator all day long probably isn't doing it right, and isn't really thinking that in those terms.
That's the one that says, I bent over to tie my shoes and now I couldn't get back up.
Yeah.
Because all that time they've been doing it wrong. They don't even realize it, but all those little things have finally added up to the point where it broke the camel's back.
Sure.
Broke the camel's back. So another topic I'd like to talk about here just a little bit is we come across it all the time in my gym. Someone gets hurt, or they come in hurt, the back is bothering them, whatever it might be, shoulder, and they go to physical therapy, and the first thing on their mind is, you know what, I need to stop exercising because, my knees bother me and I have to stop now. There are times that they do need to stop, but there are times where I believe that they can continue to work, because you may have hurt one leg. That doesn't mean the rest of your body has to go to waste, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you're hurt, like anybody, you really want to rest the injured tissue for a couple of days, and everything's every tissue is going to heal differently. But the injured tissue, we know that the best way to heal anything is through the body being active and being alive, and to do that involves blood flow. Now, if you're going on an independent program to a gym that has no one supervising you at all, then I'm going to tell you probably to not go. Or if it's a shoulder injury, I'll say just do leg exercises.
Right.
But in reality, we want you exercising as long as we don't stress that tissue in a way to cause further damage. But it takes kind of knowing what you're doing, to do that. And that's where, our relationship has been great, because that's a really, advantageous thing from our standpoint is when we're working with someone who was your client or someone who's going to work out over here afterwards. It's great to be able to just give them certain limitations and know that, somebody's going to be able to, kind of coach the person on that, because that's, when you're done with your 4 weeks or 6 weeks of physical therapy, you're not really 100% better all the time. There's still things that we could probably work on, and that's a great extension of that, and just a nice transition point. So
yeah, we've had a great relationship with that and other physical therapists in the area. We always try to contact them when someone's coming out of physical therapy, when someone goes to physical therapy, and you guys have been great to give us instruction. You know more about the body than we do in some areas, in some ways. So you've always been very helpful for us. All your staff has always been great down there. So that's all the time we got for today,
right.
Dave. I really appreciate you coming on board. I think you gave our viewers a lot of knowledge, and hopefully they open their eyes to some of the things that they can do and not do, and some places that they can go to some really good, qualified, caring physical therapists in the area.
Sure.
So
great. Well, hey, thanks for having me.
Great.
Thanks, Chris.
Look for us again next week, next Tuesday at 3:30 for more insight on how to get fit, feel younger, and live better. Thanks for watching. Oh, Jackie. Thank you, Jackie. This is